before I start, I just wanted to mention that I came to British poetry 10 years ago. And I'm not British, as you may be able to tell from my accent. So thank you to the British Council for acknowledging that a variety of poetries exist in Britain. So I came to Britain in 2010, whilst Steve was in the Writers' Forum. I was in the poetry library and was reading a book about the poetry wars and the Battle of Earl's Court, which I hadn't realized coming from an American context in which more diverse poetries are recognized, possibly better. I'm not quite sure if I would agree with my statement right now, but I was quite confused by the extremity of a book called The Poetry Wars and the way in which the British poetry revival was so fascinating as a result that it caused this kind of rupture. And that, of course, being the kind of person I am, I was immediately way more interested in those poets than any of the other work that was found in the poetry library. No offense, Chris, I know you have to buy everything in, so it's not, you can't just restrict it to what you might like. But and so it was spending time with that material in the poetry library. And I did not go to the Writers' Forum, which clearly I should have because I would have met Steve. But what did happen is I met Steve as a result of his organizing that he was doing, inspired by Bob Cobbing. So in a way, it all began 10 years ago in some weird confusion about what poetry is. Or perhaps, as you were saying, Steve, it's more a clarity about what poetry is and a fundamental. So I'm going to enforce some kindness in the room. You're going to need to find a partner, hopefully sitting next to you or behind you, and you're going to have to share things because there's scarcity in poetry, because everything has to be compressed and there's never enough things. It's kind of invented, that statement, but so I'm going to hand out a few things because I'm also a lecturer, so I like to hand out materials. I like you to have something to take home, to reflect upon, to think about more deeply, to circle, to analyze, to annotate. So you'll have to argue with your partner about who gets to take the thing home, whether you separate the two things, whether you tear it in half, whether you come up to me and say, why didn't you bring enough? You knew the capacity of the room. The British Council in Germany is very organized. They told you these things, but I didn't bring it. So, everybody needs, I need one because I have to keep one. So everybody needs one A4 of normal paper. Not everybody, sorry, every pair. Sharing.
Oh, thank you.
So chat to the person next to you while we're handing things out, because otherwise it's really boring. Everybody needs one piece of the acetate. Every other person.
Thank you. I'll probably pass this to someone. Yeah, I'll film rather than...
Make sure that you have an eye and a hand on each bit. Yeah, so clearly you're not students, because this is taking a hell of a long time to get this handed out. Okay? Does everybody have a hand and an eye on both required pieces of material? Okay? Good. Okay, we're getting there. So as you can see from the slide, the poem I've chosen is a Paula Clare poem that appears in the New Concrete anthology, Chris and Victoria's anthology, of which there are still copies available. Don't make Chris carry all those back to Liverpool. And don't make me carry the only remaining copy of Mother Baby Home back either, because I want those. Okay, so I'm going to read to you the instructions that Chris received from Paula Clare about how to engage with this poem. And then you can read the poem. I'll leave you to read the poem. For those interested in the technical side, this is a Miltonic sonnet form of 8 and 6 lines with the caesura in line 9. So try to spot the caesura. Can you spot it? At this crux, or the caesura, motion is charged with E motion, and the capitals move occur twice in this second part of the poem, making it more dynamic.
The instruction for full experience of the poem, thanks to me for providing you with the full experience of the poem, not just putting it up there. The instruction for full experience of the poem is to print out an A4 paper, the same size as an A4 acetate, then move the transparency over the base text to create kinetic effects. Yes, moving kinetic poems. I should hear lots of rustling. Only then is the full meaning of the title realized. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. We'll now take a very, very short break, and then we'll come back for the second half with 3 brand new collaborations to finish the festival. Thank you very much.